truthfully don't know how to start this. It's cool. I don't even want to sit down and write all of this for people to read and scrutinize every past action of mine. However, today marks the 5-year anniversary of what happened. I don't know if I can handle letting this simmer any longer. I need somewhere, anywhere, to get this off my chest. You're probably wondering what I'm on about. So, I'll ask you a question before I explain. How much do you care about your family? Answer first, I didn't care enough. I was a pretty, shitty brother, and the rest of my family continues to pay the price for my carelessness. Let me set the scene. It was midsummer for most of the time to have fun and make plans with friends, okay? To go on a holiday a few states away, maybe abroad if you had the money. That's what most teenagers would have been doing, but not me. I was geeky, awkward, and most of all, bitter. I was never the extroverted type and immediately retreated if I felt my presence was an intrusion upon others, which was all the time. Poisoned by unsupervised internet access at a young age and an image board culture. I had all the serotonin drained out of me and was convinced I was a lost cause at the ripe age of 15. The easiest way to cope was to convert that sense of hopelessness and teen angst into anger, directed at anyone unfortunate enough to be near me. Thinking about it, I feel bad for my parents. Most of all, I feel bad for my little brother, Liam. I've thankfully grown out of it, but he'll never know that. My parents decided to move away from our old home in the city to some suburbs a few states away. Liam was upset since he, unlike me, had friends in our old hometown he'd miss. He was always the emotional one, you know the type. He was the kid who threw tantrums and had to be dragged to places kicking and screaming. But with a change this big, his upset was understandable. It was a lot for an 11-year-old, and it should have been a lot for me too. I was too caught up in my own head to be concerned about the move though. Liam cried, wailed, and screamed often during this time, and my parents tried throwing him one last party with his friends. But from what my mom told me, it didn't help. On the contrary, it rubbed in that we were leaving, and Liam stormed away in the heat of the moment, causing the party to end early. Fulfilling my duty as the responsible older brother, I grumpily quit an online multiplayer game and left the Discord. I was now being flamed in for quitting mid-game. It wasn't that deep a stupid game, but it soured my mood. On my way out, I was certain Mom heard the vile profanities and insults I muttered to myself. Continuing my silent tirade while descending the stairs and making my way through the hallway, I found myself standing by the open door frame. Liam clearly heard me descend as his head turned quickly to look up at me. He was seated on the second step of our crummy little front porch, his head turning sharply to see me properly. My presence didn't seem to make him feel better, okay? He just huffed, turning his head away to stare ahead again. He sensed I didn't want to be there, and I picked up on his knowing it quickly. I tried comforting him, but it resulted in me admitting I didn't know what the hell I was saying. In a sad attempt to bond, I offered to play Splatoon together. He huffed again, called me cringe for uttering the game's name, and insisted I get lost. Get lost is what I did. After that day, Liam's tantrums turned into seclusion. This wasn't uncommon, but in hindsight, I don't think it was treated with the appropriate concern. None of his behavior was. He's just a kid. My parents used to rationalize, but I can't recall any well-adjusted 11-year-old behaving the way Liam did. The day we moved barely felt real. It was weird to walk out the door, into the car, and drive away, knowing you'd never return. Despite not having much to lose by moving, I remember feeling a specific kind of melancholy. It only half registered that this was a part of my life I was leaving behind, potentially forever. Sure, I had no friends, no hobbies, but it was still my home for 15 years. The drive was quiet. In the beginning, Mom and Dad tried engaging in small talk to lift the mood, but with Liam feeling dejected and me never much of a talker. The conversation died down, leaving us to our own devices. I found myself staring out the car window like I was in a music video for a sad song. It felt both eternal and like we arrived at our destination in the blink of an eye, driving onto the street where our new home was located. I couldn't help but note how clean everything was. Back in our old place, you'd find cigarette butts littering the sidewalk, gathering around the storm drain but never falling into the sewage. Here, nothing. You could probably lick the ground without needing to wash your mouth afterward. Houses were nice, the porches big. Each house had a front garden with neatly mowed grass, not a single weed in those small fields of green. The moment we entered the driveway, I knew I was going to hate it here. I took a deep breath, glancing at Liam, who seemed to equally dislike the vibe, and opened the car door, stepping onto the pristine asphalt of the drive-in parking. I looked at my parents, whose eyes were glued to what would now be our new house. It was big, like every other house here. The front garden was vast, like every other front garden. It was nice, but nice was all I could say about it. So picturesque and suburban. I couldn't help but want to leave. I'd have walked back to my old home if I had to anywhere. But here, don't you want to look around? Dad asked, raising an eyebrow and nodding toward the front door. One didn't. However, I knew the question was rhetorical. Liam and I glanced at each other before shrugging and making our way inside. Dibs on the biggest room, Liam muttered, walking toward the stairs fast enough to surpass me past the front door. I didn't have it in me to chase him up, opting to take my time climbing the stairs. It was a quiet trip. When I caught up, he was standing at the window, staring out at something. "What's up?" Kai asked, furrowing my brows and joining him at the window, looking through the pane alongside him. The bedroom provided a view of the back garden and the forest behind it, barred off with a wooden fence. This was normal enough, but what puzzled us was what we thought we saw between the trees. You wouldn't notice with a passing glance, but stare longer, and you could pick up vague motion obscured by greenery. What I assumed to be people teenagers at oldest were dancing along what was probably a trail in the forest. I couldn't tell, as everything was obscured. The dance looked simple. They were paired up, rhythmically shuffling forward, slowly spinning. After uncounted, consistently changing intervals, they let go, did a single twirl, scrambled about, and paired up with someone new within their vicinity, while continuing to shuffle. "What the hell is this? You think it's a community thing?" I asked. Liam shrugged. "Don't know," he responded. I just looked out the window, and there they were. "Want to check it out?" I offered. He blankly stared at me. "Later, maybe," he said, flatly. "I'm tired, Keithan." "Liam, don't you want to come look at the garden, 'kay?" I heard Mom call from the stairs, cutting off speculation about the dancing kids. "Coming," Liam called out slowly, reluctantly leaving the room too. "Join our parents." "Yeah, I'm coming too," I answered, but my voice dropped. My eyes glued to the forest and the dancing kids. In hindsight, maybe I should have joined them. Maybe then I'd have been more at ease staying in this stupid, over-sanitized, tense circle of hell that was this neighborhood. It happened during the twirl. One of the kids, I couldn't tell their age, tumbled while turning, fell, and didn't get up again. The kids accompanying them didn't stop to acknowledge it, no signs of concern. They simply paired up and kept dancing. The limp child, another bump to step over. It's hard to describe what I felt at that moment. I'm pretty sure I was staring, like a wide-eyed idiot, too confused to let it fully sink in. I don't know if I was afraid or disturbed, or if I really saw a kid fall, or if the greenery formed a funny image. But I vividly remember a lump forming in my throat. It became harder to breathe. My hands turned cold, and every muscle screamed at me to leave the room. Yet, I couldn't stop staring at this bizarre, barely visible sight. "Ethan, honey, are you coming?" My head snapped to look at Mom, now standing at the door. I cleared my throat. Yeah, I'm coming," I stammered, then realized I had no idea what I'd said yes to. "Coming for what?" I asked for clarification. Mom's shoulders slumped. "We're going to visit Miss Brady. She lives across from our home." My mind lagged, taking longer than it should to register. When it clicked, I made a pathetic ah sound. Mom took this as a lack of enthusiasm and sighed. "No, this is a lot," she started. I didn't want another hour-long lecture on how this was best for us as a family, so I cut in with, "I know." The tenseness on Mom's face suggested she was ready to keep talking, but she took a deep breath. "Just give this a chance. Please." I hesitated before answering. "I am." I glanced back at the window before we left, peering through the leaves, obscuring the commotion in the woods. The line was gone, but a lone figure lay on the forest floor. That lone figure haunted me for weeks. Miss Brady was fine cordial, always smiling, with a casserole ready, as suburban neighbors do. We sat and talked at her table, mostly Mom and Miss Brady chatting about the place, the schools, and how lovely the neighborhood seemed. I wasn't paying attention, as my mind was on the dancing kids, the one who tripped. Then Miss Brady brought up the forest. I asked if the community held activities there, and she happily talked about picnics and collective walks. Do any dancing, events, or parades get held in the woods? I asked. The question confused her. I knew the answer before she spoke. "No, dear, not as far as I'm aware." "Is that your thing, dancing?" "Yeah, I lied. Dancing wasn't my thing, and Mom knew it, glancing at me quizzically. I cut to the chase and asked for directions to the forest, claiming I wanted to explore the neighborhood. "End of the road, dear. You'll notice you can turn 2 ways. To get to the forest, turn right. It'll lead you right in," she instructed, a light smile on her lips. I didn't need a tour of the neighborhood. I needed answers to what the hell I saw. I looked at Mom, who said, "Of course, you can go." To my dismay, she wanted me to bring Liam, but he wanted to hang out with Miss Brady's kid. Silently, pleased I didn't have to drag him along, I got up, promising Mom I'd be home by dinner, and left. I decided to scout the forest, find my way around, and maybe return later to explore thoroughly. Unfortunately, this didn't go as planned. I was in a rush to confirm what I saw was real, not a hallucination to get answers. At the same time, I didn't want to find what I saw. My mind conjured worst-case scenarios. What if they were badly hurt? What if they needed a hospital? Getting to the point where Liam and I saw them seemed simple. We could see it from our home. So I just had to walk along the forest edge and follow the houses to the back of our new house. But all houses looking the same made estimating the distance harder than expected, and paths splitting up complicated things. The deeper I walked, the darker the forest felt, and the more I felt urged, beckoned to come closer. The pull was almost magnetic, drawing me away from the path into the shrubbery. The further I strayed, the more my heart pounded, dread growing, but I couldn't turn back. What should have been a warning was how rancid the woods began to smell. Disgusting, pungent, yet sickeningly sweet stench of rotting flesh, like forgotten, expired meat. No animal carcasses were present, but the entire area smelled like death, unbearably strong. I had to hold back the urge to vomit. Then I saw her, lying surrounded by trees and bushes. The closer I got, the stronger the smell became. I'm shocked I didn't vomit. It was a little girl, reddish-brown, shoulder-length hair, light green t-shirt, and pajama shorts, no older than 7. "Hello," I called, but she was unresponsive. A pit formed in my stomach. I already knew, but part of me didn't want it to be true. "Hey, are you okay?" I asked, approaching her still form, my pulse rapid in my throat. "Hello?" My sentence trailed off when I got a proper look. I still get upset thinking about her swollen red eyes, the discoloration of her face, the frozen look of terror. I visualized the bluish veins beneath her skin and have to hold back the urge to tear up and throw up. A lump formed in my throat when my fears were confirmed. I wanted to scream, but my voice gave way, and all I could do was struggle to breathe, heaving. I backed away, nearly tripping. Finally, I retched, the taste of bile a relief compared to the pungency radiating from her body. My hands trembled as I reached for my phone, barely able to hold it due to shaking. Calling 911 was a miraculous endeavor. 911, what's your emergency? It was a hot summer day, but I'd never felt colder. I tried to speak, desperately mouthing the words, but my voice initially refused. Body. There's a body, I struggled to exclaim amid hyperventilating. The conversation was a blur. One moment, I was calling 911. The next, I was questioned by a police officer outside the forest at the path's start. Mom was more panicked than I was, running up as soon as she saw me. Ethan, she hollered. Ethan, honey, what happened? I just stared, not wanting to talk. I couldn't look at her, my eyes glued to the ground. The officer pulled her aside, likely explaining what happened. My memories a blur, but soon I was home. Mom tried getting me to eat, but I didn't want to. Seeing what I saw killed my appetite. Liam later told me he saw the dancing kids again, and I stared wordlessly before heading to my room. For weeks, I stayed in my room, barely remembering what I did. I sure as hell didn't sleep any time I drifted off. She appeared. She still does, and I can't stand it. If I was lucky, I'd have energy for breakfast, then disappear into my room again. Despite how unbearable the sight of the girl was, I became obsessed with digging up information about her and Healthy, and my parents were concerned. I overheard them discussing a counselor when they thought I wasn't listening. Liam tried talking to me, and I refused. He mentioned the dancing kids, wanting to join them. I told him, shut up. No, you wouldn't want to dance with them. Hey, can't be doing anything good. After all, they left a little girl for dead. According to the police, she was from another state, missing for months with other kids from her hometown. She'd been dead for months, based on her decomposed state, with no signs of violent death. Cause of death, a heart attack. It didn't make sense. How could a month-old corpse have been dancing earlier that day? How could the kids I saw disappear from the forest, despite their numbers? I was sulking when Liam knocked again. Hey, Ethan, I sighed, opening my bedroom door just enough to peek through. What? Did you ever want to leave? He asked. Leave? I opened the door fully, puzzled by his cryptic words. You know, I don't want to be here just as much as you do, said, with a shrug, figuring he wasn't adjusting to the neighborhood. I just can't take this anymore, he said, sounding desperate. I stared blankly, then rolled my eyes. Just go away, I muttered, closing the door unceremoniously. Returning to music and idling on my bed, the next few days were a blur. I soaked. The family did whatever. Nobody could have predicted it'd be our last normal day together. Was playing an online match, my bedroom door open. And I could tell Liam was at the doorframe from the hallway light's shadow. You going to sleep? I asked, not looking away from the computer. I guess, he said. Well, good night then, I told him. Bye, Ethan, he responded, puzzled. I frowned and looked at the doorframe, but he was gone, not thinking. Twice, I continued the match. My parents came upstairs, saying goodnight and asking me not to stay up too late. Needless to say, I did until 2:16 a.m. thirsty after hours seated. I got up to go to the kitchen, planning to call it a night and maybe sleep without imagery of the girl plaguing me. Glancing at our family's row of shoes, I noticed a pair. Missing? It seemed normal until it sank in and my heart dropped. I had a sinking feeling I knew where Liam was going. I didn't think to wake my parents. I bolted through the front door, likely waking them. I must have looked like a maniac, running barefoot in a loose shirt and shorts through pouring rain. My legs ached by the time I reached the streets, and needing a breath but unable to afford it. At the forest, that terrible stench invaded my nostrils, overpowering pine and moss. I thought of the girl's decaying, mortified expression and froze, my legs ready to give way. Then I pictured Liam's face instead. Terror fueled my steps. I ran again, bypassing police tape. There was an on-site officer I didn't notice. Instinct drove me down the same route as weeks ago, like I knew the kids were there again, that magnetic pull. Voiceless pleas to join them, as if they wanted me to know Liam followed them. The unbearable stench confirmed it. My desperation grew, as did the stench, making breathing laborious, feeding a feedback loop of exhaustion. When I saw them, I wasn't sure there were real rows of children in the distance, rhythmically stepping and twirling despite no music. I called Liam's name, growing hopeful it wasn't too late. A head turned toward me, though I couldn't see clearly without glasses. I guessed he was shocked. Then I heard a scream, undeniably Liam's. I should have passed out from exhaustion, running like a maniac, hair and clothes glued to my skin by rain channeled by leaves. I was heaving, but retrieving Liam outweighed my needs. I was so close. The children danced faster than anticipated, matching my speed unnaturally. Their irregular rhythm and complex steps were unlike any dance I knew, not something a child should pull off, foreign, illogical, unnatural. I witnessed this alien set of steps as I approached. My biggest regret was being transfixed by this foreign foxtrot, neglecting my footing. I slipped on the muddy trail, my head hitting a rock. When I woke, I was in the hospital, my parents anxiously by my side. I cried out for Liam. He's been missing since this morning. Ethan, Mom said, interrupted as I sobbed like a baby. He's gone, I choked out. Don't say that, she cried. He's gone, I repeated, crying uncontrollably. An on-site officer found me unconscious near the main path, in cruel irony, where the girl fell. They thought I was dead too. To find one kid in a place like this is bad enough, he said. I didn't respond, answering their questions with flat truth. I didn't care if they believed me. I could tell they were unsure what to do with my information. They won't find him, I know. Weeks passed, then months. Mom grew hopeless. Even Dad showed mental wear. I had to start therapy, but never told my therapist about that night. It's funny how I can post this for thousands to read instead. Mom couldn't get out of bed and was institutionalized. Dad and I visited often. Hi tries to be strong for us, but I can tell he's hurting. As for me, I exist, I guess. I get by. Every day's a blur. Wake up, get ready, clock in at my menial job, clock out, go home, eat, sleep. Sometimes I think about seeing flashes of Liam before I faltered his head, lolling as he twirled, his twisted ankle causing his scream, his body dancing despite passing out from pain. I overthink. What if I didn't trip? What if I woke my parents? What if I listened to Liam? What things have changed? I'm alive, I guess. I just wish he was too. Asterisk.